Hey, welcome to Rad Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I would like to read in October. It may still be 80 degrees outside in Tennessee, but by God, I'm going to be spooky, if nothing else, in for this video. Festive sweater, an apple crisp macchiato, which is actually really good, and I can drink it without my body revolting, unlike the pumpkin spice latte that has milk in the syrup. Hate that. That's homophobic. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I want to read. I know that it's spooky month. Lots of people are having different readathons. There are some that I'm interested in. I'm hoping that Fortnite Frights is going to be coming back because that was one I was looking forward to. I know that there is a round of Read-O-Rama that's going to go on that I'll be participating in. Editing back here because I realize I never posted my Latinx book bingo TBR on YouTube. I only posted it on TikTok. So, I'm going to talk about the books that I plan on reading for that. That started last month and ends this month on the 15th. The Latinxathon is also going on the 6th through the 15th. So my original plans for Latinx book bingo included reading 1,500 Miles from the Sun, and I started the book, and then it was due to the library, and then I accidentally kept it an extra week and still did not finish it. I don't know why. It's good so far. It's adorable. I'm ready to read the rest, but I'm just gonna have to get myself a copy because I'm really terrible at reading borrowed books. So I'll have to table that for some time in the future. However, I do plan on reading A Theology of Liberation by Gustavo Gutiérrez. I will probably not be finishing this book during the readathon, but I will certainly be working on it. I think I mentioned in my TikTok that I wanted to see what Hoopla had in terms of either like maybe an audiobook or graphic novel, poetry collection, that sort of thing. And I did find one that I think that I want to read. Might read one volume, might read three. Just depends on how it goes. BB Free by Gabby, Rivera, and Royal Dunlap. This basically seems like a post-apocalypse, but the apocalypse mostly just took out the rich people. This girl is living afterwards, but starts to find out some secrets about her community. The drawings look really pretty. The covers of all of these have a lot of pastels, and I kind of love that. So this is going to fit for the Latinxathon because it is a short work, and potentially spooky. Finding out secrets, she's coming from a swamp. It's post-apocalyptic. Maybe it will fit that, maybe it won't. But it's at the very least a short work. And then it fits for Latinx book bingo because it's written by a Latinx author, obviously. But it has a name in the title. It's got my favorite color on the cover. I really like blues. It's got a couple of different blues I really like on there. I could say it's one of my favorite genres. I like graphic novels. I can't tell if it's going to be queer or not, but the imprint also put out Lumberjanes, The Backstagers, Heavy Vinyl, and Fence, which are all gay. So I have high hopes. So maybe it would like fit more firmly into my favorite genre. We'll just see. But for now, I like graphic novels enough that I will say that it's one of my favorite genres for this. Anyways, there's also a intersectional main character because there's a woman of color, and I think that's it. But so far as books that I'm pre-planning whatsoever, I just kind of went with what I feel like I'm going to want to read, which is shorter books because, like, I mean, really, let's be honest, the whole year, my brain has not been doing all of the things that I would like it to. So I have a stack of shorter spooky or spooky adjacent reads. I also have some stuff that I'm currently working on that I think that I want to prioritize for spooky season. So I'll go ahead and get into those. I'll start out with the less Halloweeny. The less Halloweeny ones are going to be the nonfiction. However, they do deal with some things that are actually scary because people are fucking awful. We have Discourse on Colonialism, which I already read through the introduction. Honestly, I might finish this by the end of the month. It's technically September 30th at this point. I want to finish The Gentrification of the Mind by Sarah Schulman. And this is looking at the role that gentrification has played during and post-AIDS epidemic, literal, like, gentrification of cities, but also the way that people remember or imagine the AIDS epidemic. Now, on to other things. I have Iron Widow, which I need to read soon because I've got to return this to work. And this isn't, like, exclusively, like, specifically spooky, but the cover is really autumnal, and she's out there ready to kill bitches, and that's just really great, and I love that for her. Yeah, this is a, I think, YA fantasy? I don't know. It's fantasy, and the main character, the whole premise is that the main character is in this world where a lot of girls go off to help men in these basically mech sort of situations. They're robots that have to be run with people with yin and people with yang, but the way that they're set up, the women basically are used as batteries and end up dying. And her sister went to go do this and was killed by the person who was in charge of the robot. They're not robots, I think they're like carcasses, kind of. Don't ask me, I'm not that far into it, and high fantasy does not do well in my brain all the time, most of the time. But the whole point is she's going to avenge her sister, ready to just absolutely execute men. We love to see it. And things have already gotten, like, things just keep happening. So that's the book jacket description, but, like, shit just keeps happening. And I'm stoked for it. And, yeah, so Iron Widow is a good time. I am so sorry, y'all. My brain hasn't worked in years, So, those are some things that I'm in the middle of that I'm probably going to focus on. Now I can get to the list of shorter books that are seasonal or seasonal adjacent that I'd like to get through. Will I read all of these? Probably not. This is, what would a TBR be if I actually read all the books? So first of all, I'd like to finish Universal Harvester by John Darnielle. I started reading this probably last October and then set it down because my brain hates me. So I'd like to finish this. This is super spooky vibes. The whole premise is that the main character works at like a Blockbuster, basically. People keep bringing back their tapes and saying that there's something wrong with them. There's something else taped over the movie. They start to watch the tapes, and him and I think his coworkers or friends watch them, and they realize they know where these tapes might have been taken, where they might have been filmed. I'm not very far into it, but it's good, very creepy. I have a couple of rereads that I would like to do. I have Mooncakes, which is super adorable. There's a little mystery going on, and there's also a witch and a non-binary werewolf who fall in love. They were school best friends, so it's kind of a childhood friends to lovers situation while also dealing with like a spooky mystery. There's a lot of really cute art, some really good looking food. So yeah, this is perfect and beautiful, and if you haven't read it yet, I don't know what you're doing. It is now back in print, so it's easier to get. I'm also going to be rereading Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, which isn't necessarily autumnal. Honestly, it feels more like I should have reread it in like August, but I didn't, so I'm rereading it now. I read this twice I think I actually read both of these twice last year. But this focuses on Freddie, who is in this on-again, off-again relationship with Laura Dean, who is just a very toxic person. So she's dealing with figuring out what to do with this relationship, and also dealing with the ramifications that this relationship has on her friendships. This is excellent, and this is something that I needed to internalize way earlier. Very important book. I've got a couple of manga that I would like to read because they're seasonal and I'm in the middle of the series. The Girl from the Other Side. This is the perfect balance of horror and wholesome. That's kind of my elevator pitch for these. This little girl is left behind at a village where this basically plague had been spreading. I don't really want to go into like the nitty-gritty details because you kind of figure that out as you read along in the first book. But this big scary dude basically watches over her. A lot of the people like him are, at least in the perspective of the people, bad guys. But he takes really good care of her. It's super wholesome. He tries to cook and always burns everything. I love it. So I have volumes 6 and 7 here. Gonna need to get 8 and 9. If I can get a hold of them. There's problems getting in a lot of books, especially manga. But yeah, I'm gonna be reading those. I have a poetry collection. I don't think that the poems themselves are spooky, but the cover is spooky, so I'm putting it on this list. We have After the Witch Hunt by Megan Fally. You can, like, clearly see the cover has, like, spooky vibes. Megan Fally is Andrea Gibson's partner, and the only poetry of Megan Fally that I have read is what was featured in How Poetry Can Change Your Heart. So I want to read more Megan Fally stuff. Then we have some sci-fi, which seems seasonally appropriate. All Systems Read by Martha Wells, which, yes, was on my TBR last month. But it's short, and it's not too dense, from what I'm told. So I really want to get to it. The whole premise is that there is this robot who was built to kill. This is called the Murderbot's Diary series. But upon, like, learning everything that it's supposed to learn, it decides to not murder. That's basically what I know. I know that there's supposed to be lots of themes around, like, mental health and PTSD and stuff like that. So I'm very interested in it. And I do have plans for nonfiction too. They aren't very spooky in the traditional Halloween way. It is terrifying in the, like, visceral real life. Society feels like it's on collapse kind of a way. Which is maybe true for most of the nonfiction that I read, which is probably, maybe not great. But regardless, on the short books trend, I have Capitalist Realism, Is There No Alternative by Mark Fisher. And, I'll just read you the back because that's easier. I haven't read it. I know bits and pieces of what I think it might be, but the back says, after 1989, capitalism has presented itself as the only realistic political economic system. What effects has this capitalist realism had on work, culture, education, and mental health? Is it possible to imagine an alternative to capitalism that is not some throwback to discredited models of state control? The other book that's like one of the short ones that I plan on reading for this short book reading month, I guess, is Origins of the Family, Private Property in the State by Frederick Engels. I have read an excerpt of this for a class, and it was actually the first graduate level class that I took that was feminist theory, and it definitely left a big impact on me. While Frederick Engels, like, I don't think that feminism wasn't a really large, field of thought as intentionally in academia at this point in time. But he's basically exploring how the modern conception of family, particularly as it's rooted in capitalism and how it functions under capitalism, is basically looking at how it was created. And at least within the section that I've read, he talks about how basically domination over land and over women kind of play in with this. So I'm going to read that. So it is Small Book Autumn here on Mooney Reads by Starlight, with the exception of Iron Widow. So this is what my pile of possibilities for this next month is going to look like. If you've read any of these, definitely let me know, or if you have any spooky or Halloween adjacent reading plans, let me know about those in the comments as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.